Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, so continuing our Death Car series here, we're going to talk about the Mansfield Bar. And no, that's not a place where you can throw back a few, cold ones at a bar. I'm sure there is a place called the Mansfield Bar somewhere. Jayne Mansfield, for people that don't know or weren't around, she was a famous actress, model, Hollywood sex symbol from the 50s and 60s, very similar to Marilyn Monroe. I think she was actually a little more attractive than Marilyn Monroe, but she was allegedly involved with Robert and John F. Kennedy. She was married 3 times, all before the age of 33, married and divorced, and she had 3 children.
Sounds very stable.
Yes. Yeah. So on the night of her death, she she was in the city of Biloxi, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Mississippi?
Biloxi, yeah.
Biloxi, okay.
Yep.
From a place that was called Gus Stevens Supper Club. It was a club, real fancy club. She had an engagement in New Orleans the next day. So Gus basically let her use his wife's 1966 Buick Electra 225, or deuce and a quarter as they call it in circles. So it was basically in the car, it was Jayne, her attorney, and her partner, Sam Brody, and the driver, which was a 20-year-old by the name of Ronnie Harrison. He had worked at Gus's supper club as well. So approximately 2:25 a.m., the Buick that they were all, riding in smashed into the back of a slow-moving tractor trailer. This semi basically had slowed down for a truck that was spraying mosquito fogger. It was, dark, obviously late at night. It created a very foggy, situation where they couldn't see. And due to the fact it was late, and there was also some speculation that Ronnie had, I've heard both stories. One story was Ronnie was only operating on like 2 hours of sleep. And then others say that he had plenty of sleep and he just didn't see the truck. And
he was the one driving then?
Yes, Ronnie was driving the vehicle.
Okay.
And this occurred on U.S. Highway 90 in eastern New Orleans. That's the city. So all 3 adults, including Jayne, died obviously instantly. The 3 young children, Jayne's children, actually survived with just minor injuries. They were riding in the back seat of the vehicle, and they were sleeping. So they were obviously in the back, so they just suffered some minor injuries. Interestingly enough, though, for people that watch Law and Order SVU, Mariska Hargitay, if I'm saying her name right.
Yeah, Mariska Hargitay.
Yeah, she was one of the children in the car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she still has a scar from that wreck. She actually, I guess, got pushed up underneath the seat when the incident occurred. But so yeah, basically what happened then at this point, they all died instantly. It's been thought right off the bat that there's some photos. There's obviously photos that we're showing here of the accident. One of the photos shows a wig on the dash of the car, so it led to the thought that Jayne was decapitated. She was not decapitated, though pretty darn close to it. She basically suffered a traumatic brain and scalp injury. Her skull was basically crushed, so scalped if you want to be really technical about it. This led to the Mansfield, it's called the Mansfield Bar, and it's an underride bar, as you can see right there. That is, you see these on the back of tractor trailers all the time. Prior to this, there was no bar there, so as you see in the photo of the Buick, it literally went underneath there and opened up like a can of sardines. It just peeled the roof right back. So there's absolutely.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so that's the government. The NHTSA made this, requested that the trucking industry adopt to this underride bar, or they also call it the ICC bar, and the Mansfield Bar, which is where the name came from. So it helps to avoid, if you're going to crash into it, you still might get killed, but you have at least a better chance. Your car's going to, not go underneath the truck and decapitate somebody. They're even talking about putting that on the side of the trucks now because people are still, idiots, and they're getting, smashing into the side and still getting killed even on the side of the truck. But, this would help prevent at least, a fatal accident like what occurred with Jayne Mansfield. An interesting fact here is the Buick. Now, we talk about the death car, in the JFK limo, we talk about the vehicle potentially not being the same, and, my idea on that. But this Buick was totaled out by the insurance company, and then it was sold to a private collector, believe it or not, afterward. And it was a roadside attraction, which we actually have one of the photos there for many years, where you could go pay money to see the vehicle. Right there in the one photo back there, you could see the vehicle. So for a long time, it was that roadside attraction. Now it can be seen as of last year. It's in Los Angeles. It's called the Dearly Departed Tours and Artifact Museum. And there's a photo right there of it. The car as it sits today. And that is indeed the actual car that Jayne Mansfield was killed in. A lot of people wonder how, what a gruesome, morbid thing that is to show this vehicle. And I guess on the side, if you look at the old photos, you can see where, when she was scalped, obviously she was bleeding profusely for a few seconds. And on the side door, you can see when the photos of the actual accident. If you look close, there's blood all the way on the side down, and I don't think it's going to show very good on that photo. That one right there. Oh boy. You see the blood?
Wowee.
So if you look at the car today, some 50 some years later, even though the blood is gone, you can actually still see remains of the blood. I've said it before, things are put in place. The government, as much as people might hate the government in certain circles, things are put in place because of ignorance of what people do. And in a case like this, I don't know if it was just, he fell asleep at the wheel, or what what it was that occurred that, caused him to run into the back of the vehicle like that. But, again, the Mansfield bar, you see it on there, and most people don't even, if it's been called a Mansfield bar, they probably have no clue why it's called that.
This museum has a bunch of crazy shit in it.
Yes, the museum is crazy.
So it says the collection includes a towel from the pool in which Rolling Stones drummer Brian Jones drowned in, the door to a hotel room in which cult film actor Divine died, the bedpost and blanket from Rock Hudson's deathbed, a piece of the Hindenburg, Karen Carpenter's bedroom sink, and the now Jayne Mansfield death car.
Yeah, they just got that last year.
I feel like Americans have such a morbid fascination with death.
Yeah.
They do. And this Dearly Departed Tours, their business picked up drastically once they got this car. Because it's, like you said, it's a morbid fascination with it. You're looking at a car that, and a lot of people think that it's disrespectful. This car should be crushed and destroyed. But, again, we go back to what we talked about before. It is kind of it's historic, and you don't have to go look at it,
Yeah. Well, no, that's the other thing too, is that, it is definitely a piece of morbid history, but there's history behind it, and there's things to learn from that.
Right.
And, is it worth putting out on display? That's, going to be up to one to decide for themselves.
And Jayne Mansfield was a very, very popular actress and model, like I said, during that era. So it wasn't like it was just, it was a celebrity that died in this vehicle.
Yeah, there was also a piece of the fireplace from the Sharon Tate house here as well.
So actually, I have a question. So when did they actually implement the bar?
Well, the bar actually, the trucking industry, like I said before, was very slow to adapt to it. The NHTSA didn't really form until 1970, so it took time. I've tried to read up on it, and it hasn't been clear to if it was what actual year that it went into force, that it was mandatory. It was requested that they didn't make it mandatory right off the bat. They just requested it.
That's why I asked, because you definitely still see
trucks without it.
That and like 80s, 90s vets that you see get buried under a truck.
Yes.
And that's why I'm like, well, that was 30 years later.
Here's my question. Like, how effective is it, though?
It's going to stop. Well, first off, your cars nowadays, number one, sit higher than the old cars do. Okay, a little bit higher. Even sedans. I'm not talking crossovers. They sit higher. So I mean, it's what happens is it's effective because the front that takes the impact, the hood, the bumper, it takes the impact. It doesn't say you're not going to still die. You can still get killed in the car, but the impact zone is instead of the roof being the impact zone, because the front of the car goes right underneath.
I understand
and
now.
peels over in the hood. The impact zone is now your hood and bumper, so that's gonna in the engine. So that's gonna crunch up to the car, and like I said, you could still get really injured.
Well, the way it worked back when cars had a solid frame, the frame would bend, but that's about all it would do. It would bend, and then the fucking you would be taking the impact from the accident. Cars now are designed with a crush zone, so when it hits, it crumples in those areas, which is made to absorb the impact. That's also why cars now are a lot safer.
Yeah, and that's true. And the other thing too is the cars like prior to the mid 70s, like 76, say 76 below, the cars never had the center pillar. There was no center pillar between the front and the rear doors that you see now. All cars have it now. But when the car would flip over, there was the roof would literally collapse because there was nothing there. The only thing was the side, the sides that would hold it, where the windshield connects. But there were no middle pillars. The C pillar.
You're talking about two-door cars.
No, I'm talking about two-door or four-door cars.
No, you have to have a pillar on the four-door.
No, not in the 70s.
Dude, then how would you mount the door?
It was just a very small piece of trim. It was just trim. The doors, the glass there was no pillar disconnecting the glass. The glass, there was two doors, but it was just a piece of metal, a small piece of metal.
I don't understand.
That would connect the trim. If you can pull photos
pull up something.
Pull up a 1973 Oldsmobile 98 or 88. Either one's fine. Okay, now we're gonna try to get a side view of this car. See, like that right there? That's not like today's pillars in the side there. That is very thin.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That will collapse.
There's a big gap.
Right. And even that yellow one, click on that yellow one there on the side. That's even a better picture. See it? Yeah. Look at that. So I just wanted to kind of go over and show, show everybody, first off the Jayne Mansfield car, DEF car, and kind of give a little history on, why certain things are done. And if you ever come up the back of a semi truck now, a tractor trailer, you'll look at the bar and you'll know what that's called. It's called a Mansfield bar, and you can tell all your friends why it's there and sound like a genius.
How the fuck do you not see a semi in front of you? Like, the only way to not see a semi...
Well, it was foggy.
Well, that night...
Okay, first of all, there's fucking brake lights.
Okay.
It's mosquito spray. It's not real fog.
He probably had
It happened on a country road. It happened on a dark country road.
I was going to say, the only way that I would think it would make sense is if you get cut off or if it's a hill and you can't see. Because actually, my cousin's ex-boyfriend or whatever did that. Right. He came up a hill and it was parked on top of the hill.
But look, see, he just had a photo up there. If you see look at the road there, see, and
okay,
he went around the curve. But the other thing is too, it's been speculated that again he had no sleep. He was operating he probably fell asleep 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
He actually probably fell or kind of started. You know how you doze off? You've said you've done it plenty of times.
All the time.
Right. Where you doze off a little bit and then boom, it just and he was going. By the way, I mean also just to say he was going about 70 miles an hour. He was going a high rate of speed.
So he's fucking flying.
Yeah, he was flying, and it was it was just too late.
Like, look at that shit. The fuck.
Yeah, that was. Can't even make out what that was. That guy lived. You see him sitting in there? He actually lived. Look at him in there. He's in the car.
Yeah, he looks fucking stupid.
Yeah. He probably feels pretty fucking stupid too.
He should.
But yeah, he actually survived that.
Have you seen this one before?
What, that photo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I saw it. I read about it. Yeah, he lived. Just had minor cuts and bruises.
Long story short, the reason that the law became in place for the bar on your trucks is because of this accident.
Because of this accident. That is correct. It was not really noted until this accident happened. It wasn't paid. They didn't pay. I mean, accidents had occurred, but somebody the fame of Jayne, the fame that she had, that's what brought it up.
Coming up on the next episode of Type 3 TV.
He couldn't get her in his car. He actually had to load her in diagonally across the seats because he couldn't even bend her. Like her joints were frozen solid. Her eyelids were frozen open. I mean, it's literally like something you would see in a cartoon.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week's episode.
If you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. I'm John Budzinski. From The Mistake on the Lake, this is Type 3 TV. Over and out.